When fishing plastic worms and tubes, how should you let those baits fall? Whoa! That's a beauty. Good morning, guys and girls. Good morning, guys and girls. July 7, Ephesians 3:20. This is one of the scriptures that I hang my hat on. This is one of the scriptures that I talk about in every church I talk to all over the nation. It's one of the scriptures I live by day. And here's what it says. With God's power working in us, Ephesians 3:20, God can do much, much more than anything we can ask or imagine. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the Catch of the Day channel on YouTube, do so. If you are subscribed, suggest it to a few of your friends and have them subscribe. The most important channel of all the YouTube channels. I learned this verse this way, Ephesians 3:20. God has the power to do increasingly, abundantly more than we could ever ask or think for. You know what that means? That means that God has the power to do stuff beyond our wildest imaginations. Way more than we ever asked for. More than we can ever imagine. Man, I remember back when I graduated from college, I went to work and I visited my grandma. I love my grandma so much, and I visited her and I was telling her about all these great plans I had, and my granddad had died, and I'd go visit her often, and just loved it talking to her, and she loved it when I visited her, and I'd visit her just about every single day. And I told her, I said, Grandma, I told her all these plans of what I was going to do. And I said, and you got to realize I graduated from college in 1966. So this figure I'm about to give you something. But I remember telling her, I said, Grandma, there's a possibility that maybe this year, and if not this year, I'm going to make $50,000. $50,000. Now, I went to college working for 75 cents and $1 an hour. So to think about making $50,000, that was just like, that's imagining big. That's imagining really, really big, to make $50,000, to imagining big. But you know what God was probably doing? He probably laughed and chuckled. And he said, I got the power to do increasingly, abundantly more than you can ever imagine. You're imagining 50,000? I got a different thing in mind. I'll tell you. And I honestly don't remember if I made that goal that I was kind of bragging about Grandma about or not within the next year or two, but I did make it. I have made $50,000 in a year. I sure have. But with God's power working in us, God has the power. God has the power to do more than we could ever ask for, more than we can ever imagine. So beyond your wildest imaginations, God can do more. It's so frustrating to not be able to find fish or figure out how to catch them. Agree? Do you agree? It is doubly so for those who know a great deal about the game. Quite often, just a little clue from nature or the environment can reveal a problem. A little cloud cover comes in, a little wind, a bass swirling on bait fish, shad flickering on top of the water. All of that can end the frustration if we can put all of those variables together. When we have God in us and working for us, we have His, listen to this, we have His supernatural variables working in us. We have the supernatural power of God working in us. And because of that, He can accomplish so much more on our behalf. He's working for us when we don't even realize it. He's working for us when we're asleep. He's setting up the right situations. He's setting up the right people, setting up the right circumstances. Some people might call it karma. I don't even know who that girl is, but some people might call it karma, or they might call it the coincidence. It's not. It's God's supernatural power. He can accomplish so much more on our behalf. We have a God who is always willing to go the extra mile. He'll always strengthen and encourage us just a little bit more. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. We have a God, listen to this. We have a God who sets our goals for us much higher than we can set them for ourselves. You know, that goes back to the story I told my grandma. I don't know what God's goal was. I don't know. I'm not sure if I ever reached the goal that God set out for me. But God will set our goals for us, and he will set them much higher than we can ever set them for ourselves. Take it to the bank, guys and girls. God has the power to do increasingly, abundantly more than we can ever think or ask for. That's the kind of God we serve. Grab a hold of it. Get it down in your heart. Get it in your soul. Get it in your mind. And when you're having problems, when things aren't working out quite the way you think, when you're going downhill instead of uphill like you think you ought to be doing, just remember, God's setting you up for success. He's got the power to do more than you can ever imagine in your wildest imagination. Here's our tip for today. Let your worms and tubes fall on slack line. That's right, slack line. You know why you do that? When you throw your bait out there, and if you hold your line tight, and you hold it tight for one reason, so you can feel a bite. Something gets a hold of it, you can feel it. But it will fall back toward the boat or fall back toward the bank. You're fishing off the bank, you throw it out there, it's going to fall back toward the bank. If you throw it out there from a boat, it's going to fall back toward the boat. You want it to fall right straight down where it hits the water. You don't want it falling back toward the boat or toward the bank. So when you throw out there by a stump or a log or a bush, or you just throw out there on a point or whatever, you want that worm to fall straight down. You don't want it falling at an angle like this. You want it to fall like it. If you find that you bite them at an angle, you can swim your worm. Just go ahead and swim your worm. You want your bait falling, and y'all already know you want it to fall a lot. Let it fall. Pop it a little bit. Let it fall. Just little short movements of your rod tip. Let it fall a lot. The more it falls, the more bites you're going to get. Let it fall on slack line. Pay attention to everything that's happening down there, because a bass will probably get it and you won't feel the bite. So watch if you see that line jump, if you see a little tick, you see a little swirl in the water, you throw that thing out there by a bush and let it fall on slack line by that bush. If that bush starts shaking, be a good time to set the hook. Something's probably happening down there that you need to get involved with. So pay attention when you're letting it fall on slack line. But let it fall on slack line, you're going to get a lot more bites. You're going to catch more fish. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. We serve a supernatural, abundant God. And just remember, I sure do love you.